Hardwood Glory, A Life of John Wooden. Now, why should we want to read about John Wooden?
Because he's a Hoosier. He was born and raised in Indiana. He went off to college at Purdue, where he was a 3-time All-American. Then he eventually taught English and coached high school basketball at South Bend Central. And then, when he was ready for the coaching ranks, he went to Terre Haute and he coached at Indiana State for 2 years. It was only then, when he's 37 in 1948, that he finally heads out west. And he was a Hoosier, true to his heart his entire life. Came back to Indiana often to visit family and friends, and you know, really, I like to make the point in the book that as Hoosiers we need to lay claim to his legacy, because he was molded in the state. He certainly learned to play basketball in Indiana, but in terms of his schooling, his family's instruction, everything that made him the person that he was happened here in Indiana.
What's going on here? This almost looks like a comic book.
Well, no, this is, there's a hardback version, but this is the paperback version. This is an Underground Railroad story. It's based on a true story here in Indiana. Levi Coffin and his wife Catherine were famous abolitionists who had a home in what today we know as Fountain City, Indiana, but it was, back in those days, called Newport. It's just south of Fort Wayne on US 27. The Winchester Road, you know, we have a Winchester Road south side of Fort Wayne. Well, Winchester Road, their home in Fountain City, Newport, it's a National Historic Site, big red brick home, and they were abolitionists, and in fact, Levi Coffin was known as the president of the Underground Railroad. And in this book, A Goodnight Freedom, I draw upon a story of Levi and Catherine hiding 2 runaway slave sisters from Tennessee. They hid them in their home, and then they helped them on their journey to freedom in Canada. This book is historical fiction because I take the historical facts, but then I create a fictional character to move the story along. But it's an important piece of Indiana history. There was bravery there, there was courage, and when I do my talks in schools, I like to point out courage both ways. For these, in this case, these 2 girls, 2 sisters, Susan and Margaret, who were right on the verge of adolescence, for them to run away from Tennessee, the courage that it took to travel multiple states, running through woods, swamps, forests, wild animals out there, but they had the courage to make that journey. And at the same time, we need to applaud and recognize the courage of people along the way. African Americans helped them along the way, but there were many whites. Levi and Catherine Coffin were Quakers, and many in that time and place, many white people were motivated by their religious convictions, where in their reading of the Bible, they said skin color doesn't matter. They recognized people's humanity for what they were. So I think it is important today that we go back and we say, we each have to reach deep within ourselves. We have to listen to our conscience and reach deep within ourselves to find the courage, in the case of the slaves, to break free of the bondage, and in terms of the whites who were in a position to help.